It is a really strange thing when you finally graduate,
Oh, absolutely.
or even just when you land that first, like, quote unquote real job,
Yeah,
right?
the one you've been working toward for years.
Exactly. It feels like society just hands you this very official, highly detailed map,
Hmm.
and the instructions are, well, they seem completely straightforward.
Just follow the line.
Right. Start here at the entry level, follow this well-marked path, turn right at the promotion.
Cross the bridge of a slightly better salary.
Yeah, exactly. And eventually, if you just do what you're told, you will arrive at the destination called success.
But then you actually start walking.
Yeah, you start walking and you get a few miles in, maybe you're in your mid-20s or maybe you're hitting your early 30s,
Take a look around.
and you realize something absolutely terrifying.
The map does not match the territory at all.
It doesn't, not even a little bit.
It never does. And I mean, that realization is honestly one of the most disorienting experiences a young professional can go through. Because the map tells you that if you check all the boxes, if you get the degree and the title, you should feel fulfilled.
Right.
But the territory you are actually standing in feels, well, remarkably empty.
It's just hollow. And that is exactly the friction we are getting into today. So welcome to this deep dive.
So glad to be doing this one.
We are speaking directly to you today. Yes, you, the ambitious young graduate.
Or the young professional sitting in your car right now,
Yeah, sitting in your car before walking into an office, or maybe staring at your laptop screen late at night.
feeling that deep, quiet anxiety about your future path.
Because you are wondering how you ended up here, and more importantly, like, how you get out.
Exactly.
So today's mission is to explore an incredibly unexpected, but profoundly relevant survival manual for the modern working professional.
It really is unexpected.
We are taking a stack of fascinating analytical sources to contrast fictional anime lore with some very real, heavily researched psychological and career frameworks.
Which is such a cool juxtaposition.
Right. We are doing a psychological breakdown of the Will of D from the massive anime phenomenon One Piece.
Which, I will admit, sounds kind of wild at first.
It does sound a little crazy.
Like to look for career mentoring in an anime about rubber pirates.
Yeah.
But the sources we have today are doing something brilliant. They are essentially using this fictional lore as a Trojan horse.
Oh, I like that. A Trojan horse.
Yeah, to deliver some of the most grounded, scientifically backed philosophy, behavioral science, and, workplace survival strategies I have ever seen.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand the solution, we have to accurately diagnose the problem you and I were just talking about.
The map problem.
Right, that map. So this entire deep dive is structured around the transition from childhood dreams to adult reality.
Which is a rough transition for everyone.
It really is. Think about how you viewed the world when you were like 10 years old.
The world was completely open.
Exactly. When we are kids, we naturally view our lives as a hero's journey.
We do.
We just assume we are going to be the protagonist. We are going to change the world or do something wildly creative or, embark on some impractical, massive adventure.
But then, somewhere along the line, the world kind of gets its hands on us.
It really does. We start shrinking those dreams.
Yeah.
We start sanding down our edges to make our ambitions look safe.
We trade the hero's journey for a cubicle.
Oof. Yeah, we do. And why is that?
Well, that sanding down process isn't just a metaphor. It leads to a very specific, highly documented psychological state.
Right. The sources mentioned a term for this.
Yes, the sources introduce a term for this: quiet desperation.
Quiet desperation.
Right. This was famously coined by Henry David Thoreau, but in modern psychology, it represents an incredibly common phenomenon in the workplace.
And what does that actually look like for someone?
It's that feeling where your life looks perfectly normal on the outside.
Like you have the job.
Yeah, you have the job, you pay your rent, your LinkedIn profile looks really impressive to recruiters.
You're checking the boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But internally, you have this gnawing, inescapable realization that you are actively suppressing your true self.
Just to meet societal expectations.
Or parental pressures. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like living your own life as a background extra.
That is a perfect way to put it.
The sources use this brilliant TV analogy. They say it feels like you are permanently stuck in a filler episode.
A filler episode. Wow.
Right. Your life is happening. The plot is technically moving forward because you're, aging and paying bills.
But nothing is actually happening.
Exactly. Nothing of actual substance or passion is occurring. Which makes me ask, why?
Yeah.
Why is it that the moment we hit the corporate world,
Yeah.
our main character energy turns into background extra energy?
Right.
Is it just because we all sell out?
What's fascinating here is that the root cause isn't malice
Okay.
or even laziness, right? It is almost entirely driven by the fear of being deemed impractical.
Impractical. That word carries so much weight.
It does. From a very young age, we are conditioned to believe that following a genuine passion, especially if it doesn't have a clear corporate ladder attached to it, is a luxury we just cannot afford.
Or worse, like a childish fantasy.
Exactly.
Mm.
Society teaches us that growing up means abandoning the impractical.
Right.
So we allow our entire career trajectory to be dictated by the fear of failure and the fear of judgment.
Rather than what we actually want.
Right. Rather than the drive to uncover our true personal potential, we abandon the impractical for the safe. And in doing so, we essentially abandon ourselves.
But let me push back on that for a second.
Sure.
Isn't practical just a synonym for, paying rent?
That is a very common argument, yeah.
I mean, we can't all be wandering poets and pirates, right?
True.
How do we distinguish between toxic societal pressure and just like basic responsible adulthood?
That is the exact trap, and it's a really great question.
Mm.
Basic adult responsibility is paying your rent.
Yeah.
Quiet desperation is believing that paying your rent requires you to surrender your identity, your creativity, and your voice.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The problem isn't having a practical job. The problem is letting the mindset of practicality rewrite your internal code.
Until you don't even know who you are anymore?
Until you no longer know what you actually care about, you become a professional chameleon.
A professional chameleon. That is such a vivid image.
And that is a recipe for severe career burnout.
Which brings us to our survival manual.
Yes.
The sources we have today uncover 3 core traits shared by a specific lineage of characters in One Piece.
Right, the characters who carry the mysterious middle initial D.
Exactly. Characters like Gol D. Roger, Portgas D. Ace, Monkey D. Luffy, and Marshall D. Teach.
Such a fascinating group.
The sources argue that this will of D isn't just an anime mystery to be solved.
Right.
It is a literal blueprint for personal growth.
It really is.
It is a psychological framework for building a stronger internal self and for overcoming that exact professional fear of the impractical that keeps us trapped in those filler episodes.
Exactly. It is a step-by-step framework for reclaiming the protagonist role in the hero's journey of your own career.
Okay, so where do we start?
Well, the very first step in that framework requires us to completely dismantle the way we measure our own value.
Oh, that sounds heavy.
It is. We have to fundamentally redefine where our self-worth comes from.
Right, and that takes us directly into trait 1.
Yes.
Moving from the problem of living for everyone else's expectations to the solution of the internal locus.
And to do this, the sources look at the lore of Gol D. Roger.
Okay, so for anyone who isn't steeped in the lore, let me set the stage.
Please do.
Roger was the Pirate King, the single most powerful, notorious man in the world.
A legend.
And the story focuses on his final day. He is facing execution.
Right.
This is, by all societal metrics, the ultimate defeat.
The absolute end.
He is in chains, walking up to the execution block in front of a massive crowd and the entire world government.
But he didn't cower.
No, he didn't offer a tearful apology. He didn't beg for his life.
He laughed.
He laughed. He smiled, announced his ultimate treasure to the crowd, and in doing so, he inadvertently kicked off the Great Pirate Era.
He fundamentally changed the entire course of global history with his final breath.
While in handcuffs.
While in handcuffs.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Roger had every conceivable reason to be terrified and broken.
Absolutely.
The world was judging him, condemning him, labeling him a monster, and literally executing him.
Yeah.
Yet he lived that final terrifying moment entirely on his own terms.
Mhm.
He was completely unbothered by the external narrative. So how does the human brain actually do that?
If we translate Roger's final moments into real-world behavioral science, we're talking about the psychological concept of the locus of identity.
Okay, locus of identity.
Closely related to the locus of control. This is an absolutely critical concept for anyone listening who currently feels adrift or anxious in their career.
Right.
In psychology, you can build your identity in one of 2 ways. You either have an external locus or an internal locus.
Okay, let's make this tangible for the listener.
Sure.
What does an external locus of identity actually look like on a random Tuesday in a modern corporate office?
An external identity is an operating system built entirely on society standards and feedback.
Like what?
It's the pressure from your parents to go to law school when you really want to be a graphic designer.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It's chasing a vice president title, not because you want the responsibility, but because you want something impressive to say at dinner parties.
It's doing things for the badge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In many collectivist cultures, there's a highly specific phrase for this, log kia kahenge,
Log Kyakahenge.
which translates to, what will people say?
Oh, that is so universal, though.
It really is.
Even if you don't use that exact phrase. I mean, LinkedIn culture is essentially the digital embodiment of what will people say.
Precisely. It is the universal human condition of outsourcing your self-worth to the tribe.
Right?
From an evolutionary psychology standpoint, it makes sense. Thousands of years ago, if the tribe didn't approve of you, you were cast out and you died.
So it's literally wired into us.
Our brains are wired to crave external approval. But what's fascinating here is that in the modern professional world, people who rely on an external locus of identity are incredibly dangerously fragile.
Fragile. Why fragile?
Because if your value comes from the outside, you have zero control over the market fluctuations of your own self-worth.
Wow. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
So if my internal monologue is, I am valuable because my manager praises my reports.
Right.
Then the minute my manager is having a bad day and criticizes my report, my actual identity goes into crisis mode.
Exactly.
I'm not just a person who made a typo. I am fundamentally a failure.
You shatter under the slightest public criticism.
That is so true.
A single workplace rejection, a bad performance review, or an offhand comment can completely devastate you because you have no internal anchor.
You're just floating.
You have handed the remote control of your emotions to a corporate hierarchy that does not care about you.
Oof.
Now, contrast that with Gol D. Roger.
Right. Going back to Roger.
Roger represents the absolute extreme of an internal identity. He did not care if the world government labeled him a criminal, a threat to global security, or a failure.
Because he knew who he was.
His definition of himself came entirely from within. His internal locus of identity was so strong, so deeply rooted in his own values, that not even the threat of public execution could make him conform to what the world wanted him to be.
So what does this all mean for the ambitious young professional listening to us right now? Because obviously none of us are facing literal execution on a wooden scaffold.
Thankfully, no.
But we are facing immense daily pressure to conform to a path we might hate.
It means that workplace authenticity is not just a nice fluffy buzzword for an HR seminar. It is a vital, hardcore professional survival skill.
A survival skill.
As a mentor, I tell young professionals this all the time. If you are basing your self-worth on climbing a traditional corporate ladder that you don't even genuinely care about,
Purely for the approval of your parents or your peers?
yes, if you do that, you're going to lose your authenticity.
And then what happened?
When you lose your authenticity, you inevitably hit that wall of quiet desperation.
The filler episode.
Exactly. Developing an internal locus of identity, sitting down and deciding what you value, what you want to achieve, entirely independent of your LinkedIn network, is the very first step to bulletproofing your career against burnout.
That is such a powerful paradigm shift. Stop letting your industry dictate your soul's value.
Exactly.
But this leads me to a massive question, a real point of friction.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, let's say I'm listening to this, and I agree.
Yeah.
I am trying to build that internal identity. I'm trying to ignore the external pressure.
Good.
What happens when the call is coming from inside the house? What happens when my internal identity is fractured by my own severe, crippling self-doubt?
Right.
Because it's one thing to bravely say, I don't care what my boss thinks.
It's external versus internal.
Exactly. It's an entirely different thing to sit alone in your apartment at 2 a.m. and think, I am a total fraud and I don't deserve to be here.
That is a very different battle.
To answer that, the sources pivot to our second character. We have to talk about Porteous D, Ace.
Yes. This is where the framework becomes incredibly nuanced and frankly, much more relatable to the average professional.
Because Roger is almost a mythic ideal, right?
Right. Roger is a godlike figure in the lore. Ace is deeply human.
Because the sources highlight a massive twist in the lore with Ace. Ace is Roger's biological son.
Right.
He has the absolute strongest bloodline in this universe. He carries the will of D. He is phenomenally powerful.
On paper, he should be unstoppable.
But despite all of that pedigree and talent, Ace lived his entire life in constant psychological agony.
He really did.
It was deeply, fundamentally insecure.
Yeah.
He spent his childhood wandering around asking people if they thought the son of the Pirate King even deserved to be born.
Just heartbreaking.
He was questioning if his very existence was a mistake. So wait, let me push back here.
Okay.
If the will of D is supposed to be this blueprint for being a fearless, unstoppable protagonist in your career,
Right.
why is one of the main D characters completely paralyzed by imposter syndrome?
That contradiction is exactly the point.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the will of D, much like true professional growth, is not about being fearless.
It's not.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
That is a toxic myth we constantly sell to young people.
Oh, that's
We
interesting.
tell them that if they just read enough books or get enough promotions, one day they'll wake up and feel completely confident and the fear will just be gone.
Like you just level up out of fear.
Exactly. But this raises an important question. What is actual courage in the workplace?
Right.
The sources break down this second trait beautifully. Courage does not mean the absence of fear.
I really want to highlight that. It's so important.
Because someone listening to this right now who is terrified of making a career leap needs to hear that.
I will say it again. Courage does not mean the absence of fear.
Wow.
Neurologically, your brain's amygdala cannot tell the difference between the physical threat of a lion and the social threat of launching a new business and having it fail publicly.
That is wild. So my brain reacts the exact same way.
The fear response is biological. It will always be there.
So you can't just turn it off.
No. If we connect this to the bigger picture of your career, ACE represents the universal struggle against deep, ingrained personal insecurity.
Mhm.
The tragedy of ACE's internal monologue is the exact same tragedy of the modern graduate.
How so?
You look at a job description for a role you want, or a creative project you want to launch, or a non-traditional career path.
And your brain immediately screams, I am not good enough for this.
Exactly. I am a fraud. I don't deserve this space.
Right, the classic textbook definition of imposter syndrome. We all have it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And cognitive behavioral therapy actually deals with this heavily.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The goal isn't to silence the inner critic completely. That's almost impossible.
Right.
The lesson of ACE is that the will of D is about choosing your path, choosing your family. In his case, his fierce loyalty to the pirate Whitebeard, and forging your identity despite the absolute terror you feel inside.
He was scared out of his mind, but he acted anyway.
They acted anyway.
When his crew was in danger, he didn't let his internal feeling of worthlessness stop his external actions.
Right.
He didn't let the fear paralyze his choices when it mattered most.
And to the young professional listening to this deep dive right now, struggling with career anxiety, I want to step into that mentor role and say this as clearly as possible.
Go ahead. Yeah,
Self-doubt is the ultimate hidden barrier to your professional potential.
it really is.
It is the quiet killer of careers. The tragedy of a career isn't that you tried an impractical path like starting a business or becoming an artist or moving to a new city for a weird tech startup and failed.
Because failing is fine.
Failing is just data. It tells you what to adjust.
Right.
The real tragedy, the thing that will haunt you, is abandoning the attempt altogether because the non-traditional path felt too scary,
Wow.
because you felt you didn't deserve to try.
Oh, that is so painfully common.
It breaks my heart every time I see it.
How many brilliant graduates have we seen who have this blazing passion for something unique? Maybe it's nonprofit work or indie game development, but they abandon it for a safe consulting job.
So many.
And not because they actually want the consulting job,
No, never.
but because they simply feel they don't have the pedigree or the right to try the passionate path.
Exactly.
Ace proves that even top-tier professionals, or in this case, incredibly powerful anime characters, suffer from deep foundational self-doubt.
You can literally be the best in the world at what you do and still feel like a fraud.
But your actions, moving forward, in spite of that trembling fear, are what define your career identity.
Action in the face of insecurity.
Yeah.
That is the second trait of the Will of D.
Acting despite the terror.
It's taking the fear with you, putting it in the passenger seat, acknowledging that it is in the car with you, but absolutely refusing to let it touch the steering wheel.
I love that. Okay, so we're building a really robust blueprint here.
Yes, we are.
Step 1. Build an internal locus of identity, like Roger, so the external world can't dictate your value.
Right.
Step 2. Accept that your internal world will sometimes be terrified, but act anyway, like Ace.
Mm-hmm.
But here's where we hit the real friction of everyday reality.
Okay, lay it on me.
Because acting despite fear is great in theory,
Sure.
but the world constantly, relentlessly pushes back. It is exhausting.
It wears you down.
How do you sustain that action when you are constantly getting rejected, when your family is mocking your choices?
Right.
This brings us to trait 3. Stoic resilience.
Yes.
And to contrast Ace's deep insecurity, the sources pivot to look at the relentless, almost baffling internal focus of the series' main character, Monkey D. Luffy.
Luffy is the perfect case study for navigating modern social pressure
Why is that?
because his character motivations map so seamlessly onto profound philosophical frameworks. The sources first connect his journey to the Japanese concept of ikigai.
Oh, I love Ikigai.
It's brilliant.
Let's really break this down for the listener because it's so much more than a Venn diagram you see on Instagram.
It is much deeper than a meme, yes.
It's essentially a framework for finding your life's deep purpose, right?
Right.
It's the intersection of 4 specific pillars.
What?
What you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what you can get rewarded or paid for.
Finding the center of those 4 pillars is incredibly difficult in the real world
Because there's friction.
because there is inherent friction between them. You might love painting, but the world won't pay you for it.
Right?
Or you might get paid highly for corporate accounting, but you don't love it.
Exactly.
But Luffy lives this out in the most literal, frictionless sense.
Let's run him through the pillars.
Okay, what does he love? Absolute freedom and adventure.
Yeah.
What is he good at? His highly unique combat skills, and more importantly, his terrifying ability to rally diverse groups of people to his cause.
Okay, that's 2.
What does his world need? Well, the One Piece world is filled with islands oppressed by tyrants, so he inadvertently provides liberation.
Wow, yeah.
And what is his reward? The freedom to sail the seas, the deep connections he makes with his crew, and the pursuit of his dream.
So he hits all 4.
He is operating at the absolute dead center of his ikigai.
But, and this is the crucial part, the world doesn't reward him with praise for finding his Ikigai.
No, they do not.
The world calls him a pirate. They put a massive bounty on his head.
Right.
So what does this all mean for someone listening right now who is trying to pursue their Ikigai but is currently getting rejected from 50 jobs a week on LinkedIn?
That is the reality for so many people.
Or what about the young creative facing heavy sarcastic criticism from their family at Thanksgiving for pursuing an impractical project?
The Thanksgiving dinner interrogation.
Exactly. How do you maintain that Ikigai when the entire world is screaming that you are wrong?
That is exactly where the sources bring in the ancient wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and the philosophy of Stoicism.
Stoicism,
Yes, Stoicism, at its foundational core, teaches the dichotomy of control.
which means
True control lies only within one's own mind and your response to events. You have absolutely zero control over external circumstances.
narrow.
You cannot control the macroeconomy.
Yep,
You cannot control whether an algorithm hides your portfolio.
Ugh, the algorithm.
You cannot control if a recruiter replies to your email. And you certainly cannot control the opinions of your family members.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's classic Aurelius.
Exactly. But what's truly fascinating here is the structured comparison the sources draw between those historical Stoic teachings and Luffy's modern anime character motivations.
How so?
Think about traditional historical Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor, or Seneca. They often use their philosophy to endure the status quo. Okay. They used it to blend into their civic duties, to govern, and to maintain internal peace while fulfilling highly traditional, structured societal roles.
So they were trying to fit in, basically.
They were about enduring society with grace. Luffy, on the other hand, represents a radical evolution of this.
Because he doesn't want to fit in.
He actively disrupts societal norms. He is a chaotic force of nature tearing down systems. Yet, He is entirely impervious to public criticism.
He is a modern disruptive Stoic. That is such a cool concept.
It really is.
He uses the internal discipline of Stoicism to fuel external disruption rather than external conformity.
Yes. When the world government calls Luffy a monster, a criminal, or a threat to justice, he literally hears the words, but he completely refuses to let those external labels penetrate his internal will.
He just ignores it.
He doesn't get defensive. He doesn't write a long, angry post defending his reputation.
He doesn't go on a Twitter rant.
He doesn't suffer from PR anxiety. He just keeps moving directly toward his ikigai.
I clearly see the contrast the sources are making here between Ace and Luffy. And it is profound for someone trying to forge their career identity.
Yes, the contrast is everything.
Ace, despite all his strength, let the world's opinion shape his internal reality.
He did.
Society hated his father, Roger, and Ace absorbed that societal hatred and turned it into internal insecurity. He drank the world's poison.
Such a tragic flaw.
Luffy does the exact opposite. He uses his unshakable internal will to reshape the external world,
And that, to the ambitious graduate listening, is the ultimate goal for your professional identity.
reshaping the world.
When you face that brutal string of LinkedIn rejections, when your passion project gets heavily criticized online, when you feel the suffocating weight of log Kyakuhenge,
Telling you that you are falling behind your peers who are buying houses and getting promotions.
yes, when you feel all of that, you must apply this disruptive Stoic resilience.
How do you actually do that?
You have to intellectually realize that the job market's rejection is a purely external event.
It's just an event.
It is data. It does not dictate your internal worth, your capability, or your right to exist in that space.
Wow.
You use your internal will to keep building your skills,
Yeah.
to keep applying, to keep networking. You fundamentally reshape your reality without letting the world's labels penetrate your mind.
It's using stoicism not just to survive the corporate world, but to actively carve your own path through it.
Precisely.
Okay, let's take a breath because we are building something incredible here.
A lot to take in.
We have the 3 traits of the will of D1, an internal locus of identity so the world can't dictate your value, like Roger.
Yes.
2, courage in the face of crippling self-doubt, acting despite the terror, like Ace.
Mm-hmm.
3, stoic resilience against the world's labels and social media pressure, like Luffy.
That's the blueprint.
This is a beautiful theory. It's a great philosophy.
But
And I'm going to play devil's advocate here,
Yeah.
as I often do, anime is fiction.
it is.
It's drawn on paper. These characters have literal superpowers. How does a normal young professional actually build this operating system in the real, mundane, exhausting world of alarm clocks, endless commutes, and quarterly performance reviews?
That is the pivotal question of this entire deep dive.
I mean, it's the hardest part, right?
Because philosophy without application is just daydreaming.
Exactly.
To ground this, the sources brilliantly anchor these anime concepts in harsh, undeniably real-world proof. They step away from fiction entirely and look at Viktor Frankl.
Oh, Viktor Frankl, the author of Man's Search for Meaning.
Yes,
For those who haven't read it, Frankl was an Austrian psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust.
a truly incredible human being.
He endured the unimaginable horrors of multiple concentration camps, including Auschwitz. We are talking about the absolute darkest depths of human suffering.
Yes, and out of that darkest possible crucible of human experience, Frankl observed and proved a fundamental psychological truth. He developed a framework called logotherapy. He proved that while absolutely everything can be taken from a person, their wealth, their family, their health, their literal physical freedom, their dignity,
Everything.
the last human freedom that cannot be taken is the ability to choose one's response to their situation.
That is so powerful.
Between a stimulus and your response,
Yeah.
there's a space. And in that space lies your freedom.
So you always have a choice.
You cannot always choose your circumstances, but you can always choose who you will be in the face of them.
Wow. When you put it like that, Frankl's survival perfectly mirrors the fictional concept of the will of D.
It really does.
It is the ultimate defiant refusal to surrender your internal meaning to external circumstances.
Mhm.
Frankl didn't let the most oppressive, systematically evil external environment in human history extinguish his internal will.
No, he did not.
So if we bring this back to the listener, if Viktor Frankl can maintain his internal locus of identity there, we can certainly maintain ours when our manager sends a passive-aggressive email at 4:30 p.m. on a Friday.
Exactly. It puts our modern professional anxieties into a very sharp, very humbling perspective.
It really does.
The mechanism of choice remains the same. But your question still stands. How do we practice this?
Right.
This raises an important question. How do you actually become the hero of your own career on a daily basis?
Yeah.
You don't just wake up one morning with the unwavering will of Goldie Roger.
Right. You don't just stand up in your cubicle, declare, I am the protagonist,
Yeah,
and suddenly you're immune to stress and imposter syndrome.
as nice as that would be.
So how do we physically build this brain chemistry?
The sources transition into some highly actionable career advice here, pulling from behavioral science.
Okay, what kind of science?
Specifically, James Clear's Atomic Habits and the Japanese business philosophy of Kaizen.
Ah, Kaizen.
Yes. Kaizen is the philosophy of continuous small improvements. It's about 1% changes compounding over time.
Okay.
And James Clear's work in Atomic Habits provides the neurological mechanism for how this builds an identity.
How does that work?
Clear argues that your identity is not something you were born with. It is not fixed.
Interesting.
It is something you vote for every single day through your habits. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become.
So vote.
It's based on neuroplasticity. Every time you perform an action, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with that identity.
I absolutely love that framework. A vote for the type of person you wish to become.
It's very empowering.
Let's translate that directly to the workplace for our listeners. What does a vote actually look like?
Let's say you are in a meeting.
Okay, I'm in a meeting.
You have a genuinely innovative, maybe slightly impractical idea for a project.
Something I'm actually passionate about.
Yes. But you look around the room, your heart rate spikes, and you stay silent because you are afraid of what your senior coworkers might think.
Oh man, I've been there.
In that moment, you have just cast a very real neurological vote for a fragile external identity.
Wow.
You are building a habit of shrinking. Every single time you make a micro decision driven by the fear of others' opinions, you weaken your internal will.
So you're literally rewiring your brain to be afraid.
You are training your brain to believe that the tribe's opinion is more important than your authenticity.
But on the flip side, if you speak up,
Yes.
even if your voice is literally shaking, even if your face is red, and you are channeling your inner ace and doing it while completely terrified.
You're casting a massive vote for your authentic self.
That is so cool.
Precisely. Every time you make a choice aligned with your true will, no matter how small, no matter how mundane the task, you are actively constructing a stronger professional future.
So it doesn't have to be some grand gesture,
It doesn't have to be quitting your job in a blaze of glory.
right?
It's spending 20 minutes taking that non-traditional online course after work instead of watching Netflix.
Mhm.
It's setting a firm boundary with a toxic boss regarding your weekend hours.
Oh, that's a hard one, but so important.
It's choosing to spend your Saturday on the impractical, passionate project instead of just recovering from the week.
These are the micro decisions.
Yes, you achieve this overarching blueprint through Kaizen. Small, continuous acts of courage compound over time.
Brick by brick.
You construct your internal identity, brick by brick, decision by decision, vote by vote.
It is so incredibly empowering to think about it that way. It takes all the pressure off.
It really does.
The Will of D isn't a genetic bloodline you either have or you don't. It's just a daily habit.
Exactly.
It's accessible to anyone willing to cast the vote. Which brings us to the culmination of all these sources.
Let's tie it all together.
We've unpacked the grand lore of the anime, the evolutionary psychology of external validation, the stoicism of Marcus Aurelius, and the habit building of Kaizen.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Let's summarize the true blueprint of the Will of D as it applies to the listener's life and career right now.
Okay.
According to the sources, it is an acronym for action.
Right.
It is a decision made daily through your habits. It is defining oneself internally, like Roger.
Mm-hmm.
And it is daring to show one's true self to the world despite the fear, like Ace. Decision, defining, daring.
And as a mentor to anyone listening to this deep dive, I want to leave you with this final crucial perspective.
Please.
Every great journey, whether it's Luffy setting sail in a tiny, fragile barrel in episode 1,
Yeah.
or Ace confronting his deepest, darkest insecurities in front of his crew.
Or you, the young professional, staring at a career path that terrifies you because it's untraditional.
Exactly. They all start in the exact same place. They start in a place of fear, confusion, and crippling self-doubt.
It's normal to feel that way.
Feeling lost does not mean you are failing. It means you are at the beginning of the arc.
So the choice you have today, right now, as you listen to this, is how you choose to frame your current reality.
Yes.
Is your current job, your current anxiety, your current state of quiet desperation just a permanent filler episode in a life dictated by everyone else's expectations? Or are you going to use this exact moment of friction as the starting point of your own comeback arc?
That is the decision. That is the space between stimulus and response.
To everyone listening, I want to ask you directly, what is your Will of D?
Think about it.
What is that one passion, that one supposedly impractical career move, that creative project, or that bold leap that you know deep down you should pursue, but you have suppressed out of the fear of log kayaka henge?
Name it.
Identify it. Stop hiding it behind the convenient adult excuse of being practical.
And if I may add one final provocative thought to all of this.
Go for it.
The sources, the psychology, and our entire discussion today have focused almost entirely on how building an internal identity saves you,
Right.
how it protects your career, your mental health, and your future.
Which is huge.
But consider this, something that stretches just beyond the immediate text. Courage is uniquely, powerfully contagious.
Continue.
Yes. When you finally stop shrinking your dreams to make them look safe, When you start walking into your office acting with an internal locus of identity, you don't just change your own life.
Wow.
You inadvertently give the people in your workplace, your peers, your friends, and your family, the subconscious permission to do exactly the same.
That is beautiful.
Your authenticity isn't just your personal survival tool. It might actually be the catalyst that frees everyone around you.
Wow. By refusing to be the background extra, you invite others to be the protagonist too. I absolutely love that.
It changes the whole environment.
We started this deep dive talking about that map we all get handed at graduation.
Right.
How frustrating it is when the map of success doesn't match the empty territory we find ourselves in.
So frustrating.
But maybe the map isn't broken. Maybe we've just been holding it upside down.
Exactly.
We've been looking for external landmarks for the clean lines of a corporate ladder when we should have been charting our internal compass.
That's the real map.
The diagnosis for a stalled career isn't a lack of talent or a bad resume. It's quiet desperation.
And the cure.
And the cure. The cure is deciding to live your life on your own terms, terrified, but moving forward anyway.
Acting despite the fear.
It's finding your will, casting your daily votes, and becoming the hero of your own journey. Something to think about.